We will not comply. The PDC, your questions all answered tonight. I'm your host, Christopher Gergen. This is Loren Live, and joining us tonight, as always, is the insubordinate one himself, your next governor of Washington State, Mr. Loren Culp. Loren, how are you?
I'm doing good, Chris. Good evening, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. So it's been, honestly, Loren, I don't even know what day it is. I think it's Wednesday. Because it's VMG day. But other than that, we've just been so busy with the campaign and on the campaign trail, I'm losing track of time.
It's been incredible. I mean, we've been on the road, I don't know how many days. I know it was over a week, maybe 10 days. But yeah, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 4 rallies a day. It's absolutely incredible. We're putting the miles on the cars, that's for darn sure. But man, the people of Washington State, yes, they are getting motivated and activated, and we're really working hard to take the state back. And all you guys that came out to see us over the last week or two, it's been absolutely amazing. Got home this morning at 5:30 and taking care of some things here in town and heading back out on the road tomorrow morning.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to get back at it, get back on the road. I know that today was a well-earned rest for our team. We have a fantastic team here at Culp for Governor. And ladies and gentlemen, you don't know how hard these people work. It's unreal.
It's amazing because I'll show up at an event, everything's set up, the speakers, the stage, the signage, the table, merchandise, and everybody's ready to go. And I'll talk to everybody, get off the stage and take pictures, sign autographs, talk to people until no one is left that wants to talk. I stay there until everybody's done and then get in the car and head for the next one. And when I get there, the crews are, they broke things down while I'm talking to everybody and they've gone to the next venue and set everything up. They're absolutely fantastic.
They really are. And, a couple of months ago, Loren, there was chatter out of some of our opponents about how, the Culp campaign is disorganized and these different things. And the reality is we're the only campaign that has a statewide organization put together. We're the only campaign that can pull these rallies off one after the other. And some of these locations are not close to one another. I mean, some of these locations are far apart. And our team is fantastic between getting the live bands and the food vendors there and just getting everybody set up, lining up other special speakers. It's really phenomenal to see how awesome these people are. And
then to show up to these rallies, and there's 400 to 500 people there.
It's unreal.
At each one of them. And sometimes we're having multiple rallies. Sometimes in the same county, sometimes, clear at the other end of Puget Sound, but it's absolutely amazing.
I think our smallest rally, we had over 200 there. That was a small one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And nobody else is doing that. Yeah, nobody else is doing that. And the reason people are coming out to hear what you have to say is because you're standing up for freedom and liberty across Washington State. That's not something that they're hearing out of any of the candidates or have heard up to this point.
Right. And Washington State, I mean, I know, I've lived here all my life except for 4 years in the military. Ran my own business. I know what's going on in this state. I know the pain everybody's feeling. And then to have a clown like Jay Inslee in as governor doing the things that he's done with the shutdown and then changing the rules every time you turn around, people are done, and then Seattle being taken over. And the far left leadership, supposed leadership, is just letting it happen. People are sick and tired of that crap. We have definitely a leadership crisis in this state. And I've been in a leadership position my whole life, starting in the U.S. Army. I was a sergeant in the Army and then ran my own business for 20 years and then police officer and a narcotics detective and a sergeant and chief of police. I've been in leadership my entire life. And what's going on right now is absolutely horrible. And everybody's feeling it. I don't know how many people come up to me at our rallies and said that they're Democrats. I had a lady come up to me and said she's a graduate of Evergreen State College, the most liberal school anywhere that I know of. And she said she heard me speak and it just made sense. And she's on board. It's absolutely amazing. The Democrats that I talk to, they feel like the Democrat Party is just kind of, taking a hard left turn and left them standing on the road. That's exactly how one person described it to me. And for the first time in their life, they're voting for Republican and they're voting for me. Because when I explain, about the rule of law and the Constitution and that our government needs to get back within the confines of the Constitution, stay in its lane, they get that. It treats everyone equally. When you apply the law, everyone is treated equally. Doesn't matter your color, your sex, your age, your gender, any of that. Everyone is treated equally under the law when it is applied. And I'm a firm believer in the Constitution and the rule of law, and that is what's going to return freedom and liberty to this state. And everybody's hungry for that, especially after this fiasco that's going on in Seattle and with Jay Inslee's handling of the COVID.
Well, let's dig into that. I just read a report that I guess shortly they're going to be reopening the 3rd precinct, or trying to reopen the 3rd precinct inside of the Capitol Hill area, which means that they're going to be dismantling the CHAZ CHOP area, and they're going to disperse this. 2 murders in there, multiple assaults, rape, theft, property damage, graffiti. Sounds like Summer of Love to me. I mean, I don't know what kind of love story that they've been watching, but that isn't anything that I've ever heard of that's lovely. What are your thoughts? Because the left is going to come out and say, see, we resolved this thing without any sort of altercation or any violence. What say you about all of this?
Well, I read an article, and I think it was the mayor or the police chief, I think it was the mayor, said that they're going to attempt to close it down.
Right.
They're going to go there. Yeah, they're going to go there at night and try to persuade people to leave, because tents are popping up all over the place. Yeah. You got the homeless that come in and was stealing food, the supposed residents of CHOP or CHAZ or whatever it is. They were asking for donations because the homeless ate up all their food. Well, that's kind of what happens,
I'm sorry. You have to laugh at that. You have to laugh at that. You just irony, do.
Right?
I mean, the irony is just delicious.
You're getting what you asked for, right? The far left asked for this. They asked for all the homeless living on the street. They asked for all the drug addicts. They asked for all the crime. And they're kind of getting a taste of it. But really what upsets me is there are business owners in that area that are trying to make a living. They got an investment, they got a business, they're trying to make a living. And people that live in there, not just in there, but around there, right? And so that's what concerns me is the law-abiding citizens and the business owners that are having to deal with this. It's absolutely ludicrous to allow that to happen. I tell everybody everywhere I go that we have a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble and to freely speak, right? Among others. Mm-hmm. So to protest, that's our right. That's our First Amendment right. And people had a right to protest the death of Mr. Floyd. He was murdered by that police officer and the others that stood by and did nothing while he was being murdered. But question. I remind people that those bad police officers were arrested by good police officers. There's 800,000 police officers across this nation that go to work and serve their communities that they love and work in. And they do a good job. They put bad people in jail and they protect good people and good businesses. And they do their job, right? To paint them with a broad brush doesn't make any more sense than to paint priests or pastors with a broad brush because a handful molest children or do other crimes, right? It doesn't make any sense. The guilty are guilty. That's it. But the far left wants to do away with the police officers, and they want to paint police officers as racist murderers. And that's absolutely not true at all. The guilty are guilty, and they're being dealt with. And I hope they get swift and severe punishment.
Now, Loren, two of our opponents went down there to the Capitol Hill area to, quote unquote, check it out for themselves. Walked around. One of them, was looking around. Yeah, looks okay. Nothing really going on. The other one, he was like, yeah, everything looks fantastic. Looks like a festival. And that's the way that he characterized it. This in an area that and neither have come out and completely condemned this thing. This is blatant anarchy. Blatant anarchy. They took over an area of a city and told police, law enforcement, local government, federal government, this is our area. We've taken it.
Well,
that's not a festival.
How would anyone who says that it's just a peaceful festival, how would they feel if it was their home and their business that just got taken over? That's the question, right? It's easy to walk in there when you don't own a business in the area, you don't live in the area. Right. But the people that live there and work there, they deserve law and order, just like everybody else, just like everybody who's saying that it's nothing going on. Well, there's going to be millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars worth of damage in there once they get those people out and those business owners try to get back open and homeowners try to get their lives back. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Once
once a peaceful protest turns to smashing windows and looting businesses and lighting buildings on fire, lighting cars on fire, and throwing rocks and frozen water bottles at the police, that's no longer a First Amendment right. That's no longer a peaceful protest. That's a riot. And it needs to be dealt with as a crime, which it is. When the police and the State Patrol requested the National Guard, Jay Inslee sent the National Guard in, but he told them to not bring any weapons with them. And that's absolutely asinine. You do not send our young men and women into harm's way in a violent situation without the means to protect themselves and others and property. That's what they're going in there for, because things are out of hand and the local law enforcement can't handle it. It's a violent situation, a riot is. And he sent them in there unarmed. That's absolutely unacceptable. Jay Inslee, the governor.
And dangerous.
Yeah, no matter who it is. The governor is the commander-in-chief of the National Guard, the Washington State National Guard, right? The commander-in-chief. Jay Inslee's never served in the military. I've got military experience as a sergeant. If this happens when I'm governor and peaceful protests start getting out of hand and turning into a riot, I will have the National Guard spun up and staged close by to where this is happening with the means to protect themselves and others and property. And they would be ready in minutes when local law enforcement and State Patrol called for backup. They would have been there in minutes and not hours or days. And they would have the means to protect themselves and others. That's the difference between a leader and someone who's just guessing. We can tell by the way he's acting with the virus that he's just guessing. He doesn't know from one day to the next what he's going to do. And now he's mandated that Friday everyone in the state has to wear a mask until there is a vaccine available. That's absolutely asinine. And I did a video yesterday. I pulled into a parking lot somewhere close to Bremerton and did a live video because I was so disgusted with what he's doing. And I tell people this on the campaign trail. Can you imagine watching a football game or playing a football game and the referees are throwing the flag and blowing the whistle anytime they want, and they're changing the rules on every play, however they want them to be. They change the rules. Nobody would want to play football. No one would want to watch the game because nobody knows what in the heck is going on from one moment to the next. And that's what's happening with Jay Inslee. He's not playing by the rule book, which is the Constitution for our government, right? The Constitution is the rule book for our government. He's so far out of the lines, it's not even funny. He's blowing the whistle, he's throwing the flag, however he sees fit. And to come out with this now what are we, 3-4 months into this? Now everyone in the state needs to wear a mask. It's absolutely asinine, and I refuse to comply. I am a free person. Article 1, Section 1, and Article 1, Section 7 guarantee my God-given rights. And Jay Inslee cannot suspend the Constitution because he feels like it. That's not going to happen. We are free people, and I am standing up, and I'm going to exercise my God-given constitutionally protected rights. And he can take his rules and do whatever he wants to with them. I know we've got a lot of kids watching, so I'm biting my tongue a little bit.
So your video caused quite a stir. We've talked to numerous media outlets today. It did get some press, and the fact that you are the leading gubernatorial candidate, and once again, as you did in 2018, you're kind of giving the governor the middle finger, which frankly I think needs to happen. Someone needs to stand up and be a voice. One of the questions that we've asked all along is, where's the rest of our leadership? There was a sheriff down, I think in Clark County. I could be wrong on the county, but I'm pretty sure it's Clark County that straight up said he won't enforce it. Not constitutional, hard stop.
Yeah, Lewis County Sheriff as well. I saw him on video.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
What say you about these leaders? If you were to encourage sitting leaders in this situation, what would you say to those sitting elected officials who have really a decision to make?
Yeah. The ones that are standing up and saying that this is ridiculous and that the citizens are free and they're not going to enforce it, my hat's off to you guys. It's not easy to do that. It wasn't easy for me to stand up back in 2018, especially when I was alone at first. But there comes a point in time where you have to uphold and defend the Constitution that you swore an oath to, right? That oath of office is a promise before God. You're making that promise to the citizens that you're going to serve or that you are serving, that you're going to uphold and defend the Constitution. It doesn't say that you're going to uphold and defend whatever Jay Inslee decides this week. It doesn't say that at all. And there's a reason for that, and we don't take that oath because our county commissioners or our legislators or the mayor or the governor decided that, everybody's going to take an oath of office. We take an oath of office because it is part of the Constitution that says we will take an oath. We take an oath that is binding on the conscience of the person who's taking it. And I think our founders understood someone's word. When you gave your word, they meant it, right? They stood up against the world superpower. They gave their word. They swore an oath. They risked their lives to stand up and keep that oath, keep their promise, right? You remember, I don't know how long ago it was, but if you offended, this just shows how deeply they were, how deeply it was embedded in them to tell the truth and their honor. If you insulted someone or you went back on your word, they would challenge you to a duel. You'd walk out back and pace off 30 steps and turn around and shoot at each other. That resulted in the death or maiming of several people. But that's what honor and keeping your word meant. And we need to remember that our founders sacrificed a lot and went up against a world superpower with a ragtag army at first and kicked their butt off of our continent to give birth to this nation. And if we can't even stand up to a governor who's gone rogue and decided that everybody needs to wear masks, the Constitution be damned. This is what I'm telling you to do. He's acting like a dictator. He wants to be a dictator. But this is the kind of thing that happens in North Korea, not the United States of America. We are free people. Individual freedom and liberty is what our founders fought for. And if we can't even stand up against a would-be dictator in Olympia that says put on a mask, then who are we? Are we Americans or are we a bunch of sheep? And it's good to see the sheriff standing up because the sheriffs are the supreme law enforcement officer in their county. And they swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And the people in their county are looking to them for leadership and looking for them to stand up. And I'm very happy to hear the ones that are. The ones that aren't, you might want to take a hard look in the mirror, because the citizens voted you into office as someone to protect them. And if the sheriff of a county says that it's not going to be enforced in his county, then that's it. It's not going to be enforced in his county. Stand up for the citizens that you work for, and God bless you guys that are, and women.
So my question is, where's the conservative leadership? Where's the conservative leadership in the legislature? Why aren't, is there anybody, standing up to be a voice of the people? Because the legislature is there to represent the voice of the people, the will of the people. And we're not seeing really any movement out of them. And I think that there's a day of reckoning, and I think that it's coming. I think it's coming fast. I think our numbers that we have here, not only from the PDC, but in our social media and from our website visits and views, and from all of our interactions, and the amount of signs that we've been getting into the field. And ladies and gentlemen, we don't just willy-nilly randomly put signs out. People purchase these signs and they put them out, and it is the demand has been so high that we literally cannot print them fast enough. And
you can drive around this state and see our competitors' signs, but most of them are on public property.
Correct.
The Culp signs that you see are on private property. Somebody paid for those. Yes.
Absolutely. So, and some of our competitors have even gone out to private property and tried to put their signs up without asking the owner.
Well, that's because they're desperate. We're not desperate, because we have the support of the citizens. We've got the message of getting the state back, taking it back from the far left, and that's resonating, like I said earlier, with Democrats, independents, and conservatives. The rule of law covers everyone equally, and it crosses the party lines. That's for sure.
There's been question in the past. I know that we've discussed this before on the show. Let's flash forward, go to the future. Okay, it's January, Inauguration Day. You're going to have one hell of a mess that is left for you, and probably more than one bear trap that is laid out in the way for you to step in. One of the largest problems that we're going to have in Washington State is the lawlessness and the blatant disregard for not only federal law, but state law in different municipalities throughout the state. How are you going to get your arms around these rogue mayors and these rogue city councils and these rogue elected officials or elected public servants who just don't want to get with the program and don't want to enforce the Constitution?
Well, yeah, and not on the Constitution, but just state law as well. Felonies. They're allowing felonies to go on. People aren't getting arrested. That's why we have this homeless crisis. I talk about it all the time. You can go to King County and have 6, 7, 8 grams of heroin on you, and the police will not arrest you because the prosecutors will not prosecute. The left says that it's not compassionate to put an addict in jail. So they leave them on the street. They're stuck in the cycle of addiction. You cannot get off of heroin on your own. It's a very strong narcotic. You will sell your body. You will steal from your parents. You will steal from businesses. You'll do whatever you need to do to get the money for the next fix. But the left says it's not compassionate to put them in jail. So they leave them on the street, stuck in the cycle of addiction. And then when you have policies like that, you attract people from all over the country to come to Washington State because they want to continue to use heroin, because that's what addicts do. They want to continue to use heroin. But what we have found over here in Ferry County, I was part of the North Central Washington Narcotics Task Force. I was a narcotics detective for 3 years. Zero tolerance policy. Residue in a baggie is a felony in this state. And so people get arrested, they go to jail, they see the judge gives them the choice. They can go to treatment, or they can go to prison or jail, depending on the severity of their crime. And most people chose treatment. And I've had so many people come back after they get their life together, get clean. And they come back and give me a big hug and say, thank you for saving my life, because they could not quit on their own. They hated my guts at first, but after they got their heads squared away, a lot of them got their kids back because they lost their kids. They got their kids back. They got a job. They got married. They got a home. And they're productive members of our community. And to me, that's compassion. Leaving people stuck in the cycle of addiction on the street is not compassion whatsoever. It takes tough love. It takes law and order. And that is how things are going to get taken care of, is through law and order. And if mayors and city councils will not deal with the problems and enforce the law, then I will use the full force of the state government to make them. Because we cannot leave people living on the street, stuck in the cycle of addiction. It's un-American. It's cruel. Those people need help. Most people that are addicted to narcotics are not bad people.
Right.
There are some criminal elements, and believe me, I have put people away for 20 years because of what they've done. But most of them need help. They need tough love to get out of that cycle and get their head clear. And then they make the choice that, that's no way to live. I got a chance now. I got a chance, and they take it. And it's absolutely amazing to see people come back and get their lives together.
Yeah. This compliance thing is a theme that we see across the nation. In Oregon, we see it. In California, we see it, where they're wanting people to comply. Comply. It's comply is just a nicer way of saying obey. And there's a real pushback about it. Your video really hit a chord with folks. It blew up on the internet. 200, as of when we went on the air, it was about 266,000 views in about 24 hours time for it's unbelievable. And over 500,000 people reached. Engagement was about 170,000 people. Unbelievable. We surpassed the Washington State Republican Party as far as the size of our community. None of our opponents have even reached 10,000 in their communities. We've reached 40,000 followers, over 40,000 followers.
Wow.
It's really phenomenal. As far as the likes on the page, Mr. Culp, we're at about 32,000. We're within striking distance of overtaking the Democrat state party online and building that community. So we're building something great here.
And that's because of everyone out there watching.
Correct.
They're sharing our content. They're hearing my message. And I'm not a politician, right? I'm just a veteran who ran his own business for 20 years, became a police officer. It was my childhood dream, and at 49, I became a police officer. I'm not a politician. I don't have a canned message. I don't have, consultants telling me what to say. It's just from my heart. I just tell it like I see it, the cold, hard truth. Some people don't like the cold, hard truth. They want it, they want a word salad made, right? And politicians are really good at making word salads and just throwing it out there and spinning words around. And by the time they get done, you don't even know what they're talking about. They're practiced, and people are sick and tired of politicians, just like I am. I'm not running because I decided one day I wanted to be governor. I'm running because I was asked by the citizens to run. Multiple citizens over multiple months asked me to run. And when I looked around, I didn't see anybody that was throwing their hat in the ring that would stand up and uphold and defend citizens' rights and keep their word. So that's why I decided to run. I've got 2 grown sons and 7 grandkids that live in this state. I've been a lifelong resident. I love this state. I've lived all across the United States and in foreign countries. And we chose to come back to Washington State because in my wife and my opinion, this is the greatest state in the world. And we love it here. I want to return it to the way that it was when I was a kid in the 70s, where we were free. You know, we didn't have a big bloated government lording over us, telling us what to do every single day. Oh, you know, this business can be open, this one has to close, taxing the crap out of us. You know, it was a safe place for kids. You could take your family. I remember as a little kid, my parents would take me downtown Seattle. And when I had kids, I took them downtown Seattle, you know, to see the sights. It's a beautiful city. It's not anymore. And I want to get this state back to where it was when I was growing up, to where we had that freedom, individual freedom and liberty. I say it all the time. Everybody's hungry for that. Everybody is so pissed off at what's going on right now. And so am I. It's absolutely ridiculous. But this is what happens when you have 35 years of far left leadership. I don't even want to call it leadership, right? It's horrible. 35 years. And what has everybody got to lose by giving me a chance, right? We see what we've gotten with Jay Inslee in there for 8. Imagine what it's going to be if he gets another 4 years. I want to restore law and order to this state. I want people to be free. I want them to feel like they can go anywhere they want to, anytime they want to.
So with the whole COVID thing and really whatever crisis it is, I mean, name one. There's going to be another crisis.
There's going to be another one.
Right. So, you know, the tyranny of the left, their answer for everything is obey. This is what we're saying that you're going to do. There's going to be another crisis. How is your approach going to be different than the approach that we've seen out of the left, not just in Washington, but really all across the country, where the message is just obey or there's consequences? Right.
Well, yeah, like you said, this is not the first crisis. It's not going to be the last crisis. You know, there's another one coming down the road. And who do you want leading the state government, right? And I'm very specific when I say that, leading the state government, because the governor is elected to be the executive officer in the executive branch of government and manage our state government, not manage every aspect of our lives, not tell us what to do every day, manage the state government. We are free individual people. We can make our own decisions on what's best for us, what's best for our business, what's best for our family. Government just needs to get the hell out of the way. You know, when I'm governor and another virus happens, what I'm going to do is have a press conference with the medical professionals and tell citizens what they think's going on, what they think it is, what you should do to protect yourselves, your family, and your business. And then as governor, make sure that the supply chain is open for any equipment that's needed, and the medical professionals as well. Tell people what could happen if we don't follow the medical advice. And then let free individual citizens decide what they're going to do, what's best for them, their family, and their business, and make that decision for themselves, not from a dictator in the governor's office. That's not how you govern free people. You know, that if you think back in our history, in 1940s during World War II, what did a Democrat president do to the freedom and liberty of American citizens for our safety, right? It's always about our safety. It's a safety. We got to do this for your safety, or we have to do this for the children, right? That's what we hear from those far left all the time. We have to do this for the children. We have to do it for your safety. But in World War II, a Democrat president trampled on American citizens' rights when he took Japanese Americans out of their businesses and out of their homes and put them in internment camps. And the reason was for our safety. That's what's going on. It's been going on for decades. They have no problem trampling on citizens' rights for safety. It's always that. Right. And thankfully that was turned on its head. And President Ronald Reagan, during his term, millions of dollars were paid to those people that had their rights trampled on. Mm-hmm. It doesn't stop. And here we are with Jay Inslee. And it's one thing after another with him. One week to the next, nobody knows what he's going to do, what he's going to tell us we have to do. And if you've noticed, most things are voluntary, right? At first,
Sure.
But what's happening on the enforcement of businesses if they don't comply with his rules on opening their businesses, right? He's empowered labor and industry to go in there and make sure that everyone's compliant. And if they're not compliant, fine them $10,000 with a stroke of a pen. He gave them that authority to go in there and do that. It's absolutely ridiculous, and people are pissed, as I am. This cannot continue. We need to get our government back within the confines of the Constitution and the rule book, and quit having Jay Inslee throw the flag and blow the whistle every time you turn around because he's changing the rules.
As governor, can you dismiss any fines that are given should Governor Inslee decide to start throwing fines around at people to make them really it's punitive, right? I mean, you're either going to obey what I say or I'm going to basically crush your business. Does the governor have the ability to grant clemency, for lack of a better word, to these businesses and to do away with those fines, to forgive those fines, or would that come from a director of LNI? Do you know?
The governor has the ability to pardon people who are in state penitentiaries.
Right.
The governor has a lot of power, and I'm being very careful because I'm not making any promises.
Sure.
You can't do that when you're a candidate for office. And I'm not making any promises. I'm just saying what power the governor has.
Sure.
And he has power to up to letting someone out of a state penitentiary. So.
Right. Okay. That's actually a question that I've received 5 or 6 times over the last couple of days, which is why I asked the question. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's shift gears away from all this negativity and hot garbage that we have going on here, and let's
hot garbage. That's a good one.
That's one of my Navy terms, hot garbage. PDC numbers, they came out.
Yeah, let's go over those.
Folks like to talk about
right.
where we are as a campaign.
Before you get into that, anyone, because a lot of times people are asking, how do I get a yard sign? How do I get a flag? If in the comments, if you're watching this live or if you're watching the recording, if you'll type in the comments, hashtag yard sign, our virtual assistant will get you in touch with your local coordinator and get you a sign. If you want a flag, type in hashtag flag, same thing will happen. You'll instantly get a message.
Right.
So, and also while I'm on the subject, be sure to hit the share button, share this with everyone, get it out. Help me spread the word. I'm only one person and I need your help. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
All right. So PDC, we've talked about this every week, trying to keep everybody up to speed on what the realities of the race are. A lot of candidates are talking about things that aren't true and saying things and trying to make themselves appear one way or the other. But we just give the people the facts here. We don't give any BS. These are just the facts. Here's the numbers. We've already gone over week 1, week 2 numbers, and we were dominant both weeks.
You're talking about June, week 1 of June, week 2 of June.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Week 1 of June, week 2 of June. Week 1 of June, Culp for Governor campaign, 39,206. Not a bad week. Pretty good way to start out the month. Week 2, we bettered that by a couple thousand. 41,344 is what we brought in week 2. Week 3, you ready for week 3's numbers?
I'm ready.
$58,024.76. So it just keeps getting better and better, folks.
You guys are killing it.
Oh, it's killing it. So let's, so in all fairness to our opponents, we have to, we can't leave them out of the party here because they're out there raising money too. Week 3, Loren Culp for governor, 58,024.76. Joshua Freed, pretty good week. Not as good a week as us. $43,426.26. He's behind us month to date about $61,000. About 61. So we're in a really dominant position, which is really where we've been for the last 3 months over those guys over there. That's the way we're going to keep it. Tim Eyman, 32,758. He upped his game from week 2, where he only broke out with $15,000. But we're up over Tim's group over there, about 77,000, about $77,000. And then as usual in the rear, Phil Fortunato's back there. He's 18,514 is all he raised. He's only raised about $21,000 this month, Loren. He's about $117,000 behind us this month, just this month. And would you like some more good news?
I love good news. I think everybody likes good news, right?
Yeah, week 4's numbers are already on track to be bigger than week 3's numbers, which were bigger than week 2's numbers, which were bigger than week 1's numbers. So we're looking for a blowout month this month, and everything that you have directed, everything that we've talked about is we're on track to achieve in the month of June.
And okay, and we're doing all those numbers because of everybody out there. Everybody, you guys are killing it.
End of subject. Yeah, it's not us. I'm definitely not that smart.
Average donation is still about what it was last month, about $60-$70 per person.
Yeah, I think right now, I think I saw it earlier today. Yeah, it's $63 right now, I think.
That's the average donation, and we're crushing those kind of numbers. That tells you
killed it.
How big the support is, right?
Like yeah, we're not out there. Yeah, I'm not out there. Yeah, we're not out there shaking the trees asking for a couple grand from everybody. And sure, we do have our large dollar supporters, and we are deeply grateful for their support, because we couldn't do the things that we do without them. However, the majority of our donors are folks that come to rallies, get shirts, want yard signs, go to our store, get things there, email us, ask us where they can mail a check. It's those people, it's the folks, and it's not, we're not out there looking for special interest money.
I've got one special interest. That's it. One special interest group. That's the only one I represent, and that's We the People.
That's it. That's it. And they're delivering.
I mean, this money allows us to get the word out even more. It allows us to do mass media. It allows for billboards. It costs a lot of money putting up billboards, doing radio advertising and TV advertising. So it's phenomenal. I don't even know how to express the gratitude that I have for everybody. They're stepping up. $10 donation, if that's what somebody can afford. $5 donation if somebody can afford it. That's a voter.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say thank you guys. I appreciate it very much. We are going to take this state back and return it to what it was supposed to be.
So right now we got about 1,100 people watching us right now, Loren. Or just went down to 1,000. Wow. Yeah, unbelievable.
Wow, thank you guys. Keep sharing.
Yeah, and
you're having fun trying to find a question, aren't you? It's probably.
Oh yeah,
I'm probably scrolling past. I can't see them because I'm on my iPhone and it's turned sideways. I can't see comments. So Chris looks through the comments, but a lot of times they're flipping through so fast that he can't find what to ask. But
yeah, and if it looks like I'm not. If it looks like I'm not paying attention, that's not the case. I am paying attention, but I also have to look for questions here. So, speaking of which, we're going to do Q&A here in just a minute. But while people are starting to type in some questions there, Loren, would you like to tell people how they can connect with us?
Absolutely. Obviously, Facebook, at Cult for Governor, and our website is cultforgovernor.com. And then we've also got a YouTube channel where all of our videos are uploaded. You can go there and look at videos that we've done for as long as we've been doing them. So keep sharing, that content. We need to keep it getting out there, keep spreading the word. And there's also a donate button on the campaign website, cultforgovernor.com. People can donate online. A lot of people donate at the events. If you can't afford to donate, I understand that. If you could volunteer, we can always use the help. If all you can do is tell your friends, then please tell your friends, because that's how we're going to win this thing, is spreading the word. So you guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, so I've got so this is how I'm going to play this. A little bit different than we're used to here, because you're right. This thing's scrolling by like ticker tape on Wall Street. So just people, they've got so many questions here.
I got a feeling that it's going to even be faster as we get closer to election. I mean,
It is.
The ballots are coming out. The mass amount of ballots are going to be coming out the middle of next month. So
Yeah,
we're not very far away from the primary.
military ballots already out, and we've already heard back from some folks that they're all in for Culp. So we're excited about that. Let's see here. All right, so let's start off. Several questions. Voter fraud. We know fraud happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about what happened with Mr. Rossi a number of years ago. We've talked about, we've talked to death about fraud, but there's still questions in the minds of people. So what are we doing? I know what we're doing, but why don't you tell the folks what we're doing about voter fraud and how we plan to deal with that?
Yeah, well, our Secretary of State is a Republican, Kim Wyman, and she's, from what I understand, been working on cleaning up voter rolls. Because we've all heard about people getting multiple ballots and ballots being mailed out to dead people. So that's being worked on as well. And, it was a tragedy what happened when Mr. Rossi was running. He won, and then they had a recount and he won, and then they had a recount and he lost. And that was the end of it. I told Chris from the very beginning that if that happens, we're fighting it. Definitely going to fight it. But the thing about it is, this time, Jay Inslee is making a spectacle out of himself in this state, and that's waking a lot of people up. Most of the donations that come into this campaign, contrary to what everybody told me in the beginning, is you're not going to get the support from Puget Sound, but most of the donations to this campaign come from Olympia up to Everett, right in the heart of Puget Sound. And there are more conservative-minded people in this state than there are far-left liberals, way more. And we're motivating them. They are leaving the Democratic far left because they don't like what's happening. And so if we motivate our friends, if we contact everyone we know and make sure that they're registered to vote, ask them, don't assume, ask them, are you registered to vote? If they're not, you can go online and get them registered to vote. And then when it comes time to fill out the ballot, make sure that they got their ballot, make sure that they filled out their ballot, make sure that they turned it in. And if we get voter turnout the way that it should be, then we will win by such a margin that there won't even be a recount. That's what we've got to do. We've got to motivate everyone we know, get them out there and vote. People are so sick. Don't just assume because you think someone's a Democrat that they're not interested. Get them hooked up with our Facebook page and website. Have them watch some videos on our YouTube channel or on Facebook, either one. You will be surprised. People want individual freedom and liberty. They want the government off their backs and out of their lives. Just got to keep spreading the word. And that's how we're going to win this.
So one thing that we need to remind the folks is that, these are mail-in ballots, but you can also bring them. And we encourage voters to bring their ballots either to the elections office, deliver them yourself, or put them in the box, in the ballot, in the drop box. Things tend to get lost. They tend to get lost only around election time. And, Republican ballots typically get lost in the mail. And so, make sure that you physically take that in there and that you drop it off. Loren, you and I have talked a lot, and this is not really a question, but more of a comment for the viewers on how we need to go back to showing an ID and casting your vote in person.
Personally, I would like to bring back, to where you went to the voting place and actually showed your ID, and they checked the voter roll and matched you up, and you are a registered voter. They give you a ballot. You go over to the little table or the booth and you vote, and then you take it over and drop it in the box. that is the most secure way, because no matter how hard our Secretary of State tries, once those ballots are in the mail, there's no chain of custody. Nobody knows where they're going or who's handling them. And once you fill it out and you drop it in the mail, or even in a drop box, who knows who's handling that afterwards, right? But if you actually walk into a polling place and you get a ballot, you show your ID, they check the voter registration, you go fill it out, you vote, bring it over there and put it in the box. There's nothing more secure than that. I would love to see that come back to Washington State. Obviously, it's not the case now, but I would love to see that come back so that we know that we have security of our ballots.
So let's do a little bit of a speed round here. How do you feel about the state of liberty?
Oh, about the state of liberty, about splitting this state in two.
Yep.
It's constitutional. There's other states that have split in the past, and if the legislature approves it and the Congress approves it, it can be done. It's constitutional. But I'm running for governor of the entire state of Washington. I love the entire state of Washington. I've lived on both sides. I lived in the Olympia area for over 20 years when I ran my business. And I've lived in Republic. I went to high school here and then joined the military and was gone. But went to high school here, met my high school sweetheart here in high school. Been married 43 years. And so right now we live over here and I'm a police officer, but we love this entire state. And when I'm governor, we won't need to worry about splitting the state because the Constitution and the rule of law will protect everyone equally. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter what you believe. Doesn't matter your age, your sex, or your party. The law and the Constitution, when they're applied, protect everyone equally.
Mass and concealed carry. Is there a conflict there? And if so, how do we deal with it?
Mass? M-A-S-S?
Wearing your mask. Wearing your face masks. Sorry, I live in New Orleans. I don't talk very well. It's So masks and concealed carry.
There may be an RCW that talks about that. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm not saying there's not.
Right. There's been a lot of questions about that because I think there is an RCW because somebody sent me one. But we'll look into that for the folks. We'll make sure that we get trained up on that and deliver a concise answer on that. Okay, education, or as George Bush would say, edumacation. What are we going to do about edumacation here in Washington State? That includes the sex ed bill. That includes, vocational training. Like, what are we going to do to fix education here in Washington State?
Well, let me just say first off that sex education bill is absolutely disgusting, and hopefully voters take care of that this coming November because it will be on the ballot. Yeah, it's disgusting. I don't know what group of pedophiles got together and wrote that crap, but it's garbage. There is a separate elected office, the superintendent of public instruction, that oversees education. That person is not appointed by the governor. So look very hard at who that person is and who you want in there. But I would like to see the big bloated bureaucracy at the top get dismantled by a long ways so that more money flows down to the school districts. Right now the state bureaucracy eats up a lot of the school funding. And the school funding has doubled in the last 10 years. So there's not a problem with money. It's a problem with priorities. And I want to get back to the basics. And I also want to add into high school. I want the trades back in our schools. A lot of people don't want to go to college. They don't want to take on the massive debt that it takes to go to college anymore. And the trades all across the state are screaming for people, and they're good paying jobs, mechanics and carpenters, all of the trades. So people can get some experience and some knowledge in school, in high school, and go right into the workplace and have a good paying job. Because like I said, not everybody wants to have massive debt. Not everybody wants to go to college. And a lot of trades don't require college. So getting them some knowledge in high school will help them fast track right into a good paying job.
Let's shift gears a little bit. Question on Columbia River salmon returns. What are we going to do to get those fixed?
Oh, that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. Fishing and hunting is something I've done all my life. I was raised in the woods. I've raised my kids in the woods, you know, hunting and fishing. My grandpa was a commercial fisherman on my mom's side. My grandpa on my dad's side was a sport fisherman. Both of them worked in the woods too, by the way. But we need to focus on that, because we've got a governor right now that I don't even know if he knows which end of the fishing pole to hold on to, right? I've never even heard him talking about enjoying the outdoors and catching his own food. You know, he talks about getting salmon recovery and getting rid of the dams so that we have salmon to feed the orcas. You know, and don't get me wrong, I love the orcas. They're beautiful. I've seen them in the wild. They're awesome, absolutely awesome. I want salmon for the orcas, but I want salmon for the citizens of Washington State too. And that includes the tribes and the commercial fishermen and the sport fishermen, families going out and enjoying family time and fishing and catching food for the table. You know, there's nothing better than bringing food home to the table. You know where you got it, right? You go to the store and buy something, you really don't know where it came from. But when you go out and you're hands-on, that's hands-on conservation. And bringing food home, taking care of your family, that's huge. I want families to enjoy that more. Just recently I toured, I went out and did a meet and greet out in Westport. And there used to be over 300 charter boats that worked out of Westport. Just Westport alone. I'm not talking, you know, there's multiple ports around the state. But 300 charter boats in Westport alone. And now, because of the low fish, there's only 28 charter boats that work out of Westport. And you multiply that by all the ports around the state, that's huge. That's an industry, right? Every boat has a captain and a crew with living wage jobs. And not to mention all the support facilities on land. You know, people used to come here from all over the world because of our fisheries. But it's not that way anymore because we have people in government that don't make it a priority. But we need to increase hatchery production. We need to deal with the overpopulation of predators, and we need to improve our habitat. You know, salmon need clean gravel to spawn. And those three things need to be fixed. And I will make that a priority as governor. I want to bring the tribes and the commercial fisheries and the sport fisheries to the table and get this figured out and get it taken care of, because for far too long we haven't made it a priority, and it needs to be. You know, I would like to see the fees dropped for getting a fishing license or hunting license and tags, so that families could afford to go do that. You know, could afford to spend time in the outdoors or on the water with their family, and bring good, clean food home. It is absolutely phenomenal to spend a day with a family out hunting or fishing, you know, but it's hard right now, you know, because it's so expensive to buy tags and licenses for a family. You're talking hundreds of dollars, you know, not to mention, you know, the boat and the gas and the fuel and all of that. But I want it to be affordable for families, because there's nothing better.
So we've got about a minute and a half to 2 minutes left. Unions. This is going to be the last question here. So unions, how do you feel about unions? Are you pro-union? Right to work was also brought up. So could you address those issues?
Yeah, after I got out of the military, I was a combat engineer in the Army. I was a heavy equipment operator. My specialty was cranes, operating cranes. And I worked in the refineries in Anacortes, and I was a member of the union. Had to be to work there. And I worked there for a while. So I've been in the union. I've been in non-union jobs. The company that I ran was a small construction company. It was non-union. My oldest son, who's 40 years old this year, he's a foreman in the Carpenters Union. My other son runs my former business I sold to him when I, realized my childhood dream became a police officer, and he's non-union. So I've been in both sides. And at my view from the governor, is if the employees and the company decide that they want to, if the employees decide they want to be union, then they can vote in and be union. The way I look at it is between the employees and the employer, what they're going to do. I don't see a reason for the governor to be sticking his nose into people's freedoms. If they want to be a union company, then they can be a union company. If they don't want to be a union company, then they don't be a union company. That's what freedom's all about. And that's what a governor that understands the role of government and abides by the Constitution and butts out of people's business. So the only time that I would take exception to that is if there's unsafe work practices obviously going on. Then the state would step in to correct that. But as far as if people want to be union or non-union, that's completely up to them and the company that they work for.
Okay, so 30 seconds here. Any last words before we close down tonight's show?
I want to thank everybody. This is phenomenal. I'm not the insider's pick, right? I'm not the establishment guy. I'm just a hardworking blue-collar man that was asked by citizens after I stood up for people's rights in 2018, way back when there was no one talking about an election. It wasn't on anybody's mind. There was no thoughts of anything. People running for office in the end of November, middle of November 2018. I just did the right thing. I stood up for citizens' rights. I stood up for the Constitution, and I upheld my oath of office when I had nothing to gain and my career to lose. And that's what I want to do as governor. I was asked by citizens. I didn't decide one day. I wasn't picked by the party. I wasn't picked by the establishment. I wasn't picked by the media. In fact, I think some of them would wish that I wasn't even running. But I was asked to by the citizens. I was asked to by the citizens.
Yeah.
And, making the decision, it wasn't easy. But talking to Barb in July of 2019, after people were asking me that whole year of 2019, the whole first part of the year 2019, when people were asking me, we talked about it, and we've got 2 grown sons and 7 grandkids that live in this state. And if I didn't jump in with both feet and help with the citizens and take this government back and get it back within the confines of the Constitution and the rule of law and get our freedoms back and our liberties back, then I would regret it for the rest of my life. And I'm 59 years old right now. And I don't live with regret. And I'm not afraid to take on a challenge, and I will fight like no one you've ever seen. But that's what it's all about. I'm not from the establishment. I'm from the citizens. So we're going to do this together. Everybody just keep sharing the content. Donate if you can. If you can't, please volunteer. If you can't do that, just tell everyone you know.
And come to our event.
Fantastic. Yes.
Come to our
events. We're going to be
tomorrow.
You got a list of where we're going to be?
I got them,
Olympia tomorrow night, or Tumwater tomorrow night.
Yep, tomorrow night, meet and greet. If you want details for that, www.culpforgovernor.com. That is Culp for Governor, all spelled out, culpforgovernor.com. You can get details there, or you can click on the events tab on our Facebook page to get details. Friday night, Enumclaw, we're doing a Surge Freedom Rally. Music, food, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be fantastic. If you are in the area,
you guys,
bring everybody, bring them all. Up in Skagit Valley, up there, we're going back up to Mount Vernon. We're going to have a rally in the valley with a wonderful church that's supporting us out there. It's going to be on there. Just beautiful, beautiful grounds, picturesque area. Rally in the valley. That's 10 a.m. this Saturday. Details are, again, culpforgovernor.com. Or here on the events tab. Then Saturday afternoon, I know you might take a little exception to this, being a police officer. I know you and I joked about this.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, we talked about that.
So we're having a political pig roast. So he and I are sitting there, and he looks at me and goes, "You realize that I'm a cop, right?" And I hadn't even thought about it, but we're having a political pig roast. It's going to be fantastic.
I want everybody to know what PIG stands for, by the way. It's perseverance, integrity, and guts. So come on out to the pig roast.
That's going to be fantastic. So it's going to be a good time. Get your tickets. That is something you need to have a ticket to, okay? Because there's food involved. So Political Pig Roast, you can get your tickets. Go ahead and click on the link in the events tab. Go to the website, culpforgovernor.com. You can get them there. Sunday, we've got another rally. Sunday at noon, we're going to be up in Oak Harbor. It's going to be fantastic. Then Sunday night, Bellingham Surge Freedom Rally. It's going to be huge. We invite everybody to come on out and check us out. So I am Christopher Gergen on behalf of Loren Culp and the entire Culp for Governor campaign. Thank you all for joining us for this week's virtual meet and greet. And we will see you guys this weekend or next week on next week's show.
God bless you guys. Come on out and see me. Good night.
Good night.